Moose Country, welcome to another episode of Let Us Be Heard.
What's up, everybody? Calling back here for another episode of Let Us Be Heard. Joined for the final time, sadly, by my co-host, friend, and fellow Moose Maniac, Dylan Gorman. Dylan, what's up, brother?
Going on, man?
Not too much. So as we mentioned in our live that we had the other night talking about Week 10 in the queue for the Moose, this is your final episode. I think it's only fitting.
For now.
For now.
I said I got to take some time away. I got other things to focus on. Work's getting really busy, and it's just one of those things where more important things at this moment have to take priority.
I get it. That being said, I'm going to let you take complete lead on this one. You wrote all the questions. You contacted this person. This is all you. I'm going to sit in the background, and I might throw a couple things in there, but I'm just going to enjoy the interview.
So this person here, it's a little bit different. Like, he's not a player, but it's still in the realm of moosehead relativity. Like, we've had the DJ on there. He's not a player, but he's still in the realm of it. We've had Ian Robinson on there, still like in the realm of it, still in there. So this one, I figured it would be interesting to get the perspective of a broadcaster, somebody who doesn't just do like our games, but travels to Charlottetown or Cape Breton, or last year in the playoffs went up to Moncton and called the games from there. Just what it takes and how this person got to that. And if anybody has eastlink, well, if anybody's been to a game, you've definitely seen this guy walking around. I can't really miss him with the hairdo that he got. Short little guy with pretty much a mullet.
I think he's got absolutely gorgeous hair. Like, his hair is a beaut, bud. Love it.
Very much is. And he brings a lot of energy to the games. He's very respectful to everybody. He has his own YouTube channel too, so might have to ask him about that. And...
Oh, Dylan, don't kill me, bud. I wasn't recording. I'm just joking. Figured I'd get you one last time before you're gone.
You're a dick.
So, who do we got on, bud? Who is it?
This is from Eastlink TV. Mavs Gillis.
Mavs Gillis, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Wonderful. Getting set for 2 games, Thursday, Friday. We've got Drummondville, Gatineau. I don't know when this is dropping, but it might be dropping after, might be dropping before. But what's exciting is 6 of the 8 invitees from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League are on the ice in Halifax for our next 2 games. So
that's going to be insane.
It's pretty cool. It's real cool. And we're getting stoked for our last 2 games in Halifax before the trade window opens. We got Charlottetown and Cape Breton on the 15th. And then let the chips fall where they may through the trades and World Juniors and on to the second season of the Q.
So before we get into your questions there, Dylan, because as I said, you're going to take over. But because you said that, what do you think we're going to do? You have any opinions on what we're going to do come trade time?
Well, first, I want to throw this right now.
Yep.
This is being filmed, or this is being recorded Wednesday, December 6th.
Yeah.
So when this comes out, it'll be about a week and 2 weeks, or roughly
2 weeks from now.
So this is being filmed Wednesday, December 6th. So anything that we say, if it happens between this time and when this comes out, it is what it is.
I think it's really interesting because the league is it's wide open. There's no one really running away with it. So there could be a lot of potential buyers. And I think the Mooseheads will be in that spot, especially with the top line they've assembled. I mean, Logan so aptly named them the cheat code line that the Mooseheads have right now. And if they're able to get some secondary scoring to complement that, it's going to be it'll go a very, very long way. They've got a great, I'm not telling tales of the school, great defense, great goaltending. Right now it's just trying to find that secondary scoring. And you're seeing with Logan Crosby and Louis Levesque being out where there is some needs to be addressed in that department. And I mean, you're seeing what Halifax needs to address right now. And I know last year Cam went out and bringing in Alex Doucette and Josh Lawrence in the trade period.
I just spoke with Josh.
Yeah,
I just put the video up today. We had an interview with Josh, incredible young guy and an amazing hockey player.
Oh, he's fantastic. And again, and having Josh come in, who's just a kid who is so good at distributing the puck, and you just see the apples lining up for him. That's exactly what that team needed. And Alex Doucette, who was just a pure goal scorer, and he's a tremendous story to be a guy that was undrafted, went through the draft process twice, no one picked him up, and then to sign an entry-level contract with Detroit last year and is in their system right now.
Yep.
I'll sing the praises of Alex Doucette all day long. Tremendous kid, but I think you're going to see. I don't have names. You know, I think Halifax will make a splash. Like for me, I'm not a big. The Wildcast fellas asked me if I'd be on their trade period podcast, and I said, I'm not really a big trade guy. I like to just, see what
it is.
Yeah, there's 18 general managers in the queue, and they're all pretty good at addressing the needs of their teams. Let the chips fall where they may, and once we come out of the trade period or we see moves, being able to react and be able to say, okay, I see what they're doing here. That's what I like to. I'm more of a sit back and watch the chips fall and see where things are headed and the trends. As far as being the guy that's trying to break rumors, there's going to be no Woj bombs being dropped on my Twitter. I'll just say that.
No.
Now, to touch on that kind of, with, like you said, a couple of the guys that are going to the Team Canada camp are going to be on the ice this weekend. 4 from the Mooseheads in Dume, Vidicek, Furlong, and Russo. Out of those 4, because you follow the league very closely as well, and you also look at other leagues too, because in broadcasting you have to know where people stand. Do you think all 4, without being rude to anyone, do you think all 4 have like a solid chance to make the team? And if you had to rank them, well, not necessarily rank them, but obviously we say Dume has the best chance, and then would be Russo. Where do you think like Vidicek and Furlong fall in that?
I think you're going to see Jake Furlong on Team Canada. Absolutely, I think you're going to see Jake Furlong in Canada, and I think you're going to see Marcus Vidicek give him hell at the training camp. I was very pleasantly surprised to see Marcus Vidicek be rewarded with a phone call and an invite to Hockey Canada's.
He deserves it.
Camp.
He works.
Yep.
One of our most underrated players all last year, and to come out this year, and he's just on fire. I love that kid.
And you know what? I'll give a lot of credit to Scott McRae in our office. We were talking about it today, and Scott talked about how with Marcus Vidicek, he's so responsible defensively.
Yep.
That there's a guy that at Hockey Canada's camp, at that level, if you're in that conversation to be in that top 12, you're a guy who scores at will. You're a guy who has always scored a lot of points. For Marcus, if he's able to hone in on the defensive side of his game, do not be surprised if you see him slot in in a 4th or 3rd line spot on that roster, and or even just being a guy on the roster, but maybe a healthy scratch. But I can see Marcus. I could see all 4 with such a great shot. I mean, I personally, we talked about it in our pregame, is Mathis Russo is very well could be the starting goalie for Hockey Canada.
100%.
And again, and Jake Furlong, who has just been, the playoffs. I mean, Mathis last year, the playoffs was incredible, but Russo in the playoffs last year cemented his legacy, and for him to come in and be so dominant this year really is showing that this, the Maple Leaf being on all four mooseheads wouldn't shock me in the least.
No, and I'm very proud of the boys too, because especially Vidicek, like we said, because he does work so hard, and it is very rare when an undrafted player gets an invite to camp. Let alone we look at Russo, an undrafted goaltender who is expected by people on TSN to potentially be the starting goaltender on Boxing Day. That's very rare when you get two undrafted guys at least going to camp that aren't coming up into the NHL draft.
But
and also,
they have already passed.
Also, Mathis Russo is probably the leading goal scorer amongst goalies at Hockey Canada.
Even points, like he's got what, four or five assists now, doesn't he?
You know what he's got? Yeah, and again, and you look at the offense that the Moose run, and with the firepower of that first line, Mathis knows if he's able to make that first pass out onto the wings, there's someone on an outlet for a break.
Take it. Yep.
That's got a shot for him to get that second apple. But yeah, I saw TSN they played Gareth's call over mine on the goalie call today.
Oh, I know. Oh,
so G baby got me on that one. Gareth McDonald, my buddy, he got me on that.
Now you posted that. You posted your call for people that want to see your call. Where can they find it?
It's on our we have it on the old Eastlink Mavs Twitter. And also, it's on TikTok as well. The last I checked, the TikTok of Mathis Russo's goal was up around just under 900,000 views. So
whoa.
we're doing all that's not a bad little TikTok.
So
I've got
I'm
sitting on some highlights from our high school football coverage that I got to get up on TikTok. I've just been kind of swamped a little bit, but yeah, that's where you can have a check out there.
To put that into perspective, the one that I made for Russo, I have two that I made. No, just one, and it's only I only have 148 subscribers, but when you put up shorts on YouTube, they get seen by so many more people, and that's only got 766 views for a short. So that's incredible. 900,000. That's nuts.
Yeah. That's the only other TikTok I have better was Katie and Emma, the two girls that were very excited after World Juniors on there. And actually, they did an interview with me 2 weeks ago at a Moosehead game, and they ran into me, and they wanted to recreate the World Juniors moment. So I'm sure we'll find Katie and Emma to be our World Juniors analysts.
That's awesome.
For the contest that's happening in Sweden this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Obviously, you're big into sports. Who got you into sports, and what sports did you play growing up, if you played any?
So one of my first memories is, and it's the 19. Again, I don't know where the consciousness kind of kicks in. One of my first memories is watching, hearing the drum of Canada '86 World Cup, that on TV. And I credit my family, my mom and dad, and they're, we always had sports on. And so I would be into sports there. Hockey, my first exposure to hockey was the Raccoons on Ice with Bert Raccoon, the second biggest goal in Canadian hockey history. He saved the Evergreen Forest.
I love that. I love that.
Raccoons on Ice. But again, Furlan Field Digger, the beaver that's the play-by-play guy in that game, in that cartoon. Well, in that game, beg your pardon. That's voiced by Danny Galvin, and Danny Galvin's a distant cousin of mine. So there's a connection. There's always been a connection there as well for sportscasting and with Danny, and so I've always been around sports. Now, what did I play growing up? I played, like, again, there's no aspirations of athletic greatness. Most broadcasters, they go into this because this is their way to do it. I was a host league hockey guy because I didn't want to travel. I was happy playing host league with my buddies. I was a host league basketball player with intramurals at Sydney River Elementary. Went up to junior high, and that's where the end of the Pee Wee house, I was done with playing hockey. I took a year to curl, and from curling, I went into football, and I played. We only had one football team in Cape Breton back in the day, and it was Bantam, and so I got to play 3 years of Bantam football. And this past month, we had Sydney Academy versus Lockview as our D2 final. Lauren Burke, who's the coach for Sydney Academy, was my head coach with Bantam back in the 90s. So it was the first time I got to call one of his high school games as, a guy who played under him, and it was pretty surreal to do that. I also had a bit of swim team, bit of judo. The thing I learned the most in judo, and this has helped me immensely in my life, is I learned how to fall. And Dylan, you can attest a bit to that. We're how to take a bump, and the amount of times that I have used a judo fall where it's tuck the chin, the flat back, and just boom, like that for me has saved my ass on the ice. We were in Amherst, and I was setting up the red light, and I took a tumble off the ladder. And again, this is 30 years from judo. My muscle memory kicked in that I tucked the chin, did a flat back, and hopped right up. No worse to wear. So that's that for me. I'm pretty happy about it. I also got to play a little rugby too. So but there was also Boy Scouts and drama growing up, and like I've got a couple years drama, which got me in a Disney movie growing up. But
Get out.
there's Squanto, Warrior's Tale. So you can see me in a Disney movie from when I was 12. But like the combining the sports and the drama has worked in sports casting and pro wrestling and
So is
just about everything.
Is sports casting the equivalent to those who can't teach?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, some would say coaching,
Yeah.
but definitely, yeah, there's definitely an element of that where I've been very fortunate to be around the game. Like, again, and like the first time I picked up a microphone around a game was high school basketball when I was at Riverview, and was just doing PA announcing. And then that PA announcing at Riverview that weekend turned into me becoming the PA announcer at UCCB/CBU. And I had a tremendous experience in university working with the athletic department. And they, John Ryan, Fabian McKenzie, Doug Connors, Jimmy Charters, Ness, Dino, the whole crew at UCCB, they really helped set me up for working in sports and in sports broadcasting. I learned more. I learned more in the athletic department than I did in the classroom. That's not a typical experience of someone in university, but that's where things, that's where I got such a big education. And yeah, that set me up for when I came up to Halifax. I could work a bit with the AUS, and that turned into sportstream.ca, streaming a lot of games. And like when I look back at those days where we were streaming Rain Men and streaming all these different sports, you got to remember, this was like 2010, 2011, and no one was doing that. Like now you look around the landscape, it's everywhere. And there's times where it gets brought up in the office. You guys were, the sports stream was a few, it was a decade ahead of its time.
Yep.
100%. Yeah. But it pays the way for people like us.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like
man.
100%.
Like, the amount of content that I'm seeing churned out locally, and the amount of games being streamed now, and how much coverage there is. It's amazing to see. And especially now being kind of a, being at this stage where I'm at in the business is watching, people coming out of university and younger broadcasters coming up through a system and learning and wanting to do this. It's great. Like working, we've got Troy Langstaff with us now. He's fresh out of Ryerson, and he's doing great stuff and helping him along. But like, and a prime example is Kenzie. We had Kenzie for a couple of years, and for me, I was watching her interview UP on a Montreal Canadiens game, and I tweeted out, it's like I was so proud of her. I was like, I taught you that spot back in the territory. It's just so cool to see. So yeah,
Back
like
in the minors.
yeah, like it's but and also like now it's looking back on learning from a guy like Dan Robertson, who was he still is one of the best play-by-play guys in the country and in hockey. And he was with us, and we got to sit under the learning tree from Robertson, several times. And I only got to run the roads a little bit with him because we were kind of, as I was starting my run there, he was about to head out. He was about to get up to get the call. But again, just he's a resource that I can reach out to. And even interviewing Ken Reed last week or a couple weeks ago, another guy. Like there's so much talent over the Maritimes now. And Bruce Rainey's a guy who talks about it's about our ability to tell stories. Bruce and like George Matthews in Charlottetown, like there's so many resources and so many people to go to that have been there, and it's cool to be part of that.
Who commentates St. John's games?
St. John's, it's John Moore was up doing the home games, I think, but I think they've got like a on the road radio wise,
no, they're home games. He's whoever that was, we love him. Like,
okay.
It's John Moore. He used to do it for us.
He's
John.
Like he doesn't. Yeah. He'll let shit. He'll curse. He just makes it interesting, and that's kind of the same as you. You may not curse, but you bring a lot of energy to it, right? And I don't know if it adds so much more production value to it.
I don't know if Johnny Moore's cursing. I don't know if that's.
I don't know who it was, but it was St. John's.
That's probably not John.
He was at one point he went, "Holy shit!" Whoever it was.
You know what? Again, they're not on radio; they're on internet. So you can. I mean, it's. I don't know how CHL TV would feel about that, but I mean, it's the rules need not apply on the internet, I guess. But
I'm gonna double check with my wife and find out if that's who it was. But
yeah. I couldn't see. I don't know if Johnny be dropping that on a broadcast, but I know
it wouldn't surprise me knowing Johnny though.
Like
slightly.
Yeah, like I know they kind of have like a rotating cast of characters on the road. With that, so but yeah, no, like again, and it's we've had Memorial Cup in town, we've had World Juniors, and getting a chance to talk with people from around the country that do this is really cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and everyone brings their own eclectic style to it.
The broadcasting side of it is something that I've always been interested in, to the point even out of high school I was tempted to go the broadcasting route. I obviously went the different way. What was the most what is the most difficult thing behind the scenes for a broadcaster that the fans don't get to see, whether it's on TV or on the radio, or what is the most difficult thing for you?
For me, sometimes there's some self-doubt. That's one thing, like, and it's like if for example, say if I call a goalie by the wrong goalie by if it's Mathis Rousseau making a save, but I accidentally say the other goalie's name, then it's in my head like, have I done this? Did I do this any other time in the game? And I'm rewinding stuff back in my head and trying to think if I did that or not. Just think I'm frozen here. Hold on.
You are, yeah. I was just looking at my system to see if it was me.
Just frozen up here. Hey, look at the Look at that guy. Just
Look at the
complete-
face on him.
he is in. That guy is in.
You look like you're about to start singing Lukey's Boat.
This guy. Let me see. I'll do this real quick. See if that changes. Oh, I think I got that wonderful rainbow circle of the MacBook. You can still hear me though. That's nice.
We can't
Oh,
hear
yeah,
you.
we still hear it.
While I'm trying to fix this, I'll pontificate even more.
Well, if you'd like, I could pause the video and you could join back in.
Yeah, I might have to. Hey.
There we go.
All right, I'll just cut whatever we got out, but we're recording again.
Wicked.
And we're back.
It's a new format. There are scandals and
3,
animals.
2. Yeah.
And we're back. Yeah, I was talking about just a bit of self-doubt. Sometimes that creeps into your mind, and you're saying, "Oh, have I been screwing that up the entire game?" But other than that, it's just plow through. Like for me, it's always teaching the keep your feet moving. Keep your feet moving forward, especially on live TV. You cannot. There's no back steps. There's no stopping. You just keep going.
Show must go on.
Yeah, you keep dancing. Like
Don't let them see you sweat. Yeah.
yeah, it's exactly. Ken Reed was signing books. He was going to be my second intermission guest in PEI 2 weeks ago, and a lot of people came to the table to buy books when we were going to do the interview. So I had to stall and stall and stall.
I
then-
saw this. I watched it.
Yeah.
and I started doing play-by-play of Ken Reed signing books, and then he ran over, and it was a good moment. We got to do we had a nice 3-4 minutes on the air talking about his hometown hockey heroes book, and yeah, but that again is just you need to be able to be quick on your feet. I was explaining play-by-play to a friend of mine today. I told her that you have to imagine it as like a 3-hour oral exam while also having the reflex of a driving test.
Yep.
That's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah.
So
That's
You'd
fair.
be able to think on your feet. So they're like the boys on the ice have hockey IQ. It's much the same. You have to have something in your back pocket just in case. Yeah.
oh yeah, very and again, and it's knowing when to knowing when to lay stuff in and knowing when to get out, and looking at a situation saying, okay, so we're going into there's some high school games we go into, we know the result already. We know the result before we get to the field. It's knowing that there might be some story time involved in the third and fourth quarter, just having some stuff ready or sitting on things. Like we talked to the coach earlier today, and this is what they had to say. It's like, well, I don't know if we're going to get that in the first quarter, but in the third and fourth, we may have a lot of time to fill. So just saving stuff in the back pocket and always kind of having the mental Rolodex ready to go.
So that being said, have you ever gotten through a full game and then like, God, we didn't get to touch on this because
Oh, all the time.
yeah.
All the time. You're producing and preparing so much stuff that you'll come off a game and be like, wow, we didn't even there was so much going on, we didn't even get to it. Or more importantly, the game story didn't go that way. And you don't want to, if it's not there, you're not going to crowbar it in.
Yeah.
Right?
It feels forced.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So getting prepared, you're talking about being prepared and everything. What's your game day routine like, both for home games for the Mooseheads at the Scotiabank Center and for games where you have to travel, whether it's Cape Breton or Charlottetown or Moncton like you did last year? What's your typical game day routine?
Typical game day. So get to the rink a couple hours before, pretty much all morning, looking at sheets, looking at things we're producing, filling stuff out, studying the league, studying trends. Then, when we get to the rink, like my sheets are pretty much done at that point. It's, have a quick chat with some coaches, chat with my color commentator, chat with producers. It's a lot of little meetings, but like everyone at that point knows what they're doing. So we've got our game plan and we're executing. It's kind of just, it's very, I come from a football background, very similar to football. Cameras know, the camera unit knows what they're going to do. Our producing unit knows what we're going to do. We're going over last minute graphics in the truck. And then it's kind of just executing a game plan at that point. The difference being on the road is substitute my home for a hotel. And it's very, very similar to that. Now in Cape Breton, it's a little different because it's, I'm going to see mom and dad on Thursday night. We're going to have a nice family supper. I'm going to get a whole bunch of mom's cookies, the chocolate chip cookies, which have been talked about plenty of times on our broadcasts. I will say are Bobby Margarita approved, because at World Juniors, we brought a bag up for Kenzie because everyone loves mom's cookies, including Kenzie. And from what she told me was Bob McKenzie polished off the bag, and that was by the up on the crow's nest, up on their panel, and couldn't stop talking about how good the cookies are. So mom's cookies are Bob McKenzie approved, and maybe we'll have to send some to Sweden. I don't know.
Yes,
If they want to put me on a plane and fly me over, yeah, I'll bring some cookies over to Sweden.
I'm pretty sure we got a few boys that'll be heading over there that can throw them in a bag.
That'd be tremendous.
Yeah,
So
maybe when you get over there, you can bring Biasca a bag of ketchup chips.
Yeah. Bring is that his thing?
He hates them. He hates
different
them.
country.
He
Different
hates
country.
them. Okay.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's yeah. So that's that for me. But like again, going to Cape Breton is a thrill because I'll see, I see the crew, and it's just that it's home. Now I see people I love in Charlottetown, but I see more people I love in Cape Breton. We'll just say that. And it's always a thrill to go to the rink because I'm going to see everyone that I normally see, but every once in a while I'll run into someone who I haven't seen in 20 years. Like I ran into my grade 5 teacher, Mr. Pino, one night, and he was my favorite teacher, and getting to chat with him for a little bit there is so good. It's again to go home to Cape Breton is great, but now again I've been in Halifax we're coming up on almost 20 years.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's I see people in Halifax now that I haven't seen in 10.
So you've lived in Halifax just as long as you've lived in Cape Breton, then, eh?
I'm getting close to that.
Yeah.
I'm getting close to that point. Yeah. I was in Cape for the
you
first
gotta be my age.
24. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Cape Breton for the first 24, and now I'm up here. So
Wow.
yeah, we're getting close, which is wild.
There's one major thing you're missing on your game day routine.
What's that?
Especially in Halifax. Especially in
Tyler
Halifax.
Talks. Tyler Talks.
Please explain what Tyler Talks is for the people that don't know, and how did it start? Because Tyler is an absolute amazing person.
He's a legend.
Thank you for
doesn't stop. He's always on, and he does nothing but love the Mooseheads and love everybody around him. So how did that start?
So that was really it was very fortunate because again the Mooseheads and Pam, Bobby, the whole crew in that regime, Joanne approached them about Tyler being part of the team as an equipment manager, and they were all for it. And Chris McDonald was so good with him. I know you guys had Joanne and Tyler. I'm not sure if she told the story about how, Joanne's like, "Do you need me to translate?" And Macker's like, "No, I'm around hockey players with no teeth all the time." But yeah, first time Chris McDonald brings Tyler over and introduces him to me, and it's always there's something that's always in me to make sure that we put our best foot forward, and we make some special, make people feel special. So the first thing I did was I ran up to the truck, grabbed one of our eastlink towels, and I put it over his shoulders, said, "There you go. Now you got your player of the game towel. You haven't played a minute, but you've already got your towel." And so I would see Tyler just, it was a couple of games. And I think one game I just walked up to him with my microphone and just like, "Tyler, we just did a fake interview," and he was into it. And then we did it again the next week. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just why wouldn't I just interview Tyler and put it up on Twitter? Because this is, he's obviously enjoying this.
Yep.
So that's how Tyler Talks started. And there have been days where I've walked into the rink, be like, all right, here we go. And Tyler runs up to me, and now after a 2-minute Tyler Talks, like, all right, we're good to go. We're into it now. We're ready. It started kind of as a warm-up exercise for me. And now I've been told by Gareth that he's like, hey, Mavs, just so you know, when games you're not at, pal, Tyler comes up and I've got to interview him. And it usually ends going to be a 10-0 game, and there's going to be a goalie goal. So
he's funny because he's very regimented. Like any deviation from his normal day, and he doesn't like it, right? So it's funny because after our interview with Tyler and Joanne, I've had people reach out to me, and again, we're much smaller than your audience, and people are requesting monthly episodes with Tyler. Like, he's so beloved by everybody in the community. It's absolutely incredible. And the thing is, it's not unwarranted. He's a wonderful soul. I just find it funny that when you're interviewing Tyler, he's the typical hockey interviews, like, oh yeah, we're gonna play good tonight, and the boys are, you know what I mean? Like, it's very hockey-esque.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Joanne says that you have him very well media trained.
Yeah.
I got him set. I've prepped him for the next level. I will say, last season, it was the home opener, and there was a family situation I had to take care of up in Ontario, up in Toronto. So I fly up to Toronto. I was going to miss it, and I am sitting at the Jays game because, like, I flew in, game's going on. I'm like, I'm going to get a cheap ticket. Just go enjoy it. So last homestand, CJ's. And I'm sitting there, and I get a text. I check, and it's a text from Logan Delaney, and he says, Mavs, Tyler is rattled right now. And he sent me a photo because we were at practice that week, and Tyler was dipping his Twinkies into his chocolate pudding. He sent me a photo of Tyler Long looking like his dog was just put down, holding a box of Twinkies and a thing of chocolate pudding. And I felt like the biggest heel in the territory. So I thought, I'm gonna go to the Jays. Like, I've got to take care of this. It'll be okay. So now I know I cannot miss Moosehead games, because if I do, Tyler might have treats.
So you couldn't even enjoy the game, eh?
I couldn't. I felt like such an ass. And so I come back. Tyler had the pudding and the Twinkies, and we indulged in Twinkies and pudding, and it was one of the most disgusting things I've ever eaten in my life. But you couldn't take the smile off my face with a sandblaster because we were having fun with Tyler. So yeah.
So now, this year, last year Joanne put up a TikTok about the two seats that were in front of her and how they would always remain empty, or people would get up and leave because they would feel Tyler was too much. After that, I saw that, and it absolutely broke my heart knowing the type of people that both Joanne and Tyler are. I went up to her and respectfully asked her, is it okay if I move down there? Like, this is your area, but I want to check with you. She gladly allowed me to, and it has been nothing but probably my favorite season so far sitting down there. You got to experience it for one period.
Yeah.
And that was a game we were winning.
It'd be interesting. I've seen videos of the Mooseheads losing and Tyler watching it on the road and him losing his mind. Yeah, you know what? Again, being down there, that game, to sit next to Tyler and Joanne, yourself, was real. You know what? Again, and Tyler's doing Q hot stove. He's telling us who's getting traded and who's going where. So.
Yeah, what is it? Woodward?
Luke Woodworth.
Woodworth, yeah.
He wants Luke Woodworth.
Well, he's got him Thursday night.
Yeah. So I'll throw this out there. the seat that's next to me that is directly in front of Tyler.
Yep.
I have that seat this season.
Okay.
You are more than welcome to come down and sit in that seat.
Perfect.
Any game you were at and any time it is available.
Perfect. I will be down.
Feel free to.
Sometime in the new year. We'll be once the schedule allows. I will definitely come down. We'll sit.
Feel free to take in an entire
I would love
Tyler
it.
game.
I would love it. I have the video ready to go because we'll get the full experience. Although again, the camera came out and Tyler was a bit reserved. Tyler was a little reserved when the gimbal.
He went in. He very much went into media mode.
He went media mode, yeah. But
the boys are playing real good, and
he's the
best. You bring, as you are right now, you bring so much energy to the broadcast when you're watching the games. Like, obviously, you're a wrestling fan, so energy comes from that. But other than that, who and what inspired your broadcast style, and is it difficult to get that energy level up for every game?
Well, there's energy level wise is always it's very much inspired by a pro wrestling commentary. Now it's also inspired by Danny Galvin and a conversation I heard him talk about his process in calling hockey and about how calling a goal should be exciting and the build up should be exciting. And you would hate to be in a situation where you are building something up nonchalantly and it ending up in a goal and the call just not being the best or not
lackluster.
You want to give it the energy and enthusiasm that it deserves, and there's guys I'm called a lot of their goals, but there's going to be some guys that I don't call a lot of the goals, like Quinn Kennedy coming in with Rimouski and scoring a big goal and just throw, the moment over out it there. That was a huge one. Or Mathis Rousseau going bananas as with Logan. But and another thing, like I know, and it's it's a lot of there's definitely some wrestling there, but also like to go back to Danny Galvin, who canonizing shot and the Savardian spinorama and caught up in the paraphernalia is
it's all very old school hockey commentary when it comes to things like that.
I really enjoy trying to get the vocabulary and building upon it and you finding ways to use different phrases and different words into a hockey game, like eclectically gains the zone. Someone just
that
around and finding areas to be able to. Okay, that's not a word that you would associate with a hockey broadcast, like hyperbole. That's not something you. But you know what? I can find a way to make that work here, and so
you almost challenge yourself to do.
Oh, very much. And you know what? And it's interesting. We were talking about this in this today. We were talking about calling Charlottetown home games from Halifax if they were playing like Cape Breton during the COVID year, like because when we couldn't go to PEI, and that Charlottetown team was a wagon. I'm sure we all remember them beating up on Cape Breton and beating up on Halifax because that's what they did. So there were times where we would show up and be like, okay, this could get out of hand quick. And that third period, if I was calling with Kenzie, is the two of us going back and forth, trying to outdo each other with vocabulary words, because it might be a 6-1 game, but that's perfect time for live reps of like 15 minutes to really get that, find a way to practice and, use live, the bullets are live, not to, but and the reps are live. You've got an opportunity. The red light's on. Do it. Yep. Don't take the foot off the gas because it's 6-1.
Hockey's got to be Hockey's got to be the only sport out there that has its own language too. Like bar down, boys. Sauce me Bucky. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay. I could see that, but you know what? Again, it's on the psychology of sportscasting, and this goes back to I read a book about this. We're talking about how sportscasting is getting from the start of the game to an end of a game, knowing there's going to be a winner or a loser, just in between, no matter the different sports, is you have to find the rhythm of the contest. And hockey has the terminologies, your terminology you'll find, but the rhythm for a hockey game is different from the rhythm of a basketball game. That's different from the rhythm of a football game, different rhythm of baseball. But at the end of the day, it's different from the rhythm of a 100-meter dash.
yeah.
At the end of the day, they all have a start and an end, and someone won, someone lost. And you need to build towards that. That for me is where I think you're, for finding the in sportscasting and terminology. Yeah, terminology will come, but you need to really ensure you found that rhythm. The first times I called hockey was very difficult for me because I did so much basketball play-by-play that I had a very hard time adjusting to the neutral zone and a very hard time adjusting to the free flowing of players. That took a bit of time for me to adjust the way I called a game. Because like in basketball, you have a guy that brings the ball over half, offenses are going to set up, and there's going to be an end result where either it goes in the basket, it's a rebound, it goes out of play, and you're getting to an end result. Where hockey is so free flowing, especially with the neutral zone at junior, you're sending the people are icing the puck, it's ping ponging around, it's not as possession based. So that was something that really took some time for me to adjust to.
It's a lot more fast paced too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you touched on it. You called and you do call many different sports for Eastlink. How difficult is it to go from one day you're calling high school football to the next day you're calling the Mooseheads play into the next day it's basketball? And how far in advance do you know roughly like where you're actually going to be?
Our schedule is set basically in August, and to give a pull behind the curtain, we'll set our schedule based on the queue. So once the queue schedule comes out, we start looking on our Friday nights where our three partner teams are and what our matchups can be involving those three teams. So once we have that done, that's where we were able to start building out our MHL, our U18, our high school coverage. We know in high school we have Mondays. That's where we're going to have our Monday football or Monday basketball. So we know that section right there. And there's a couple one-offs sprinkled in there. But for us, when we're devising the schedule, regular season, here's the queue. So we're in Charlottetown here. Let's find where Summerside is for us to get MHL in. Oh, we're in Cape Breton here. Okay, let's find if we can get a rush game or if we're going to get either Crushers or Weeks coming back the other way to make sure that we can make that happen. Or it's, like this week is, last week there wasn't any of our partner teams playing at home. So we didn't have a Q game, but we're going to have two this week to kind of make up for it.
So your three partner teams are the Moose,
the Moose, the Eagles, and the Islanders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the three partner teams. And we were fortunate enough to have Moncton kind of in the schedule as well. They weren't in the mix this year. Now, that said, looking in prognostication and crystal ball in the gimmick, there's a very good chance we're going to see Moncton taking on one of these three partner teams in the playoffs. So there could be opportunities for us to go to Moncton and call games. We were up in Acadie Bathurst 2 years ago for calling Mooseheads and T10 in the playoffs.
You were up in Moncton last year.
Yeah, we were in Moncton.
That leads into my next question.
Yeah.
How different is it calling Moosehead games in the Scotiabank Center compared to the other buildings. Because, for
Oh,
instance, Moncton, you're sitting on the concourse.
yeah.
Scotiabank Center, you're way up at the top, or
Mm.
you're over in the crow's nest. What are the different arenas like?
And I'll add to that. What do you prefer? Do you prefer being away and being able to concentrate solely on your job, or do you prefer being down with everybody?
I can tell you in high school football, we've called games in the stands. And so I'm sitting next to some parents sometimes. So that's always fun. You know what? Wherever the headset is, that's where I'm going to be. And there's, and luckily, excuse me, guys. Luckily, I'm so into the screen, my headset, being able to talk back and forth with a truck, being able to communicate with my producer in the game. Everything else is kind of blocked out at that point. It's nice to be up top in Halifax, away from everything. It's nice there, but it's also nice to be running around Moncton and running around Cape Breton as well. So,
So
I'll just say this: I'm just glad to be in buildings.
yeah, you got your YouTube channel there, and I
Mm.
showed Colin this. There's actually 2 videos where he's in it. One of them, it's in Moncton. You're walking around, you get your camera going, and you're talking to Tyler, and you just turn, and he's sitting there with a slice of pizza. He just looks at you and just goes, just gives you like the cheers with a slice of pizza, and you just kind of pan away from him.
I know sold it.
Oh.
The very next day, or the very next one, we were back down in Halifax, and you're
came
going
out of the
around.
tunnel.
You're come out of the tunnel and you're walking up, and he's sitting there. He's got the rally towel on his head, and you're like, "Hey, good to see you." He goes, "Yeah, it was good seeing you up in Moncton." You're like, "Yeah." You go over, give him a fist bump, and just walk off.
I had no idea you were recording though.
No one does. That's
No
that's
clue.
what makes it crazy. Again, the gimbal and the beast right there. That's a heck of a phone. That's captured a lot of stuff. Yeah, we're putting some stuff up on YouTube, some of our behind the scenes, and want to make sure that we for me it's showing what we do with Eastlink so important because it's local matters so much.
100%.
And we want to make sure that we for me my thought process on it is, hey, we need to show the value that is us covering this league,
The
and also,
local,
yeah,
the local entertainment and everything that goes into it.
yeah, and showing like this, showing that there is a lot of value in covering local sports. That is very. I don't want to say it's. I don't know if it's become a mission, but it's become something that I think is high on my priorities.
So it's funny.
And
I'm very happy with the junior hockey and the lower level hockey. Is it something that you as a broadcaster would like to see more higher level sports coming, like major leagues, NHL, baseball, football? Is that something you want to come here for your profession, or are you happy with where we're at?
You know what? There's so many options right now. Derek's doing wonderful stuff with the Wanderers. The Thunderbirds are doing great stuff. The Mooseheads, again, they're doing great business. There's so many good sports with Atlantic University Sport. High school, it seems as if over the last couple of years, I'm starting to notice more and more high school stories in the local media. And I don't know if that's a ripple effect from us covering it a bit more, or if it's just because I'm now more entrenched in it. But like, Isla David, she's the kicker for Auburn.
Yeah, I just seen the story for my daughter goes to Auburn.
Yeah.
I just seen the story for that.
Exactly. And seeing that story is something that I was really glad to see. We got to cover Isla for the last 2 seasons, but to see her starting to get that type of acknowledgement is good to see. Do I like seeing the NHL come into town, or like, do I want to see the CFL? Yes, I want to see the CFL. Absolutely. I like the NHL coming in for a preseason, maybe even if they had a one-off regular season game here. I don't know about having them full time. I think again, in the Maritimes, we do such a nice job with what we have. I'd love to see the Canadian Premier League expand to Moncton or some team in New Brunswick so that there's a regional rivalry there. I'd love to see the Canadian Elite Basketball League back around here. I know for me, again, it's interesting. I've watched Winning Time, the series about the Lakers dynasty. And every time I watch it, I come away thinking, man, I miss calling pro basketball. I miss calling pro hoops, man. That's because that was a lot of fun.
That's your sport of choice, is it?
It's hard for me to say a sport of choice because I've had a lot of good calls and a lot of great memories from every sport. I don't think I can't say there's one that I look at and go, oh no, it's all been very, like, even doing the interviews for track and field with our high school track and field coverage is again, a highlight of my year. I'm very fortunate to be in that. But yeah, basketball, football, hockey, I mean, baseball as well. We do senior baseball. It's good, but like where were we? It was just on. What the question was on? I'm sorry, I'm blanking out here.
Other leagues coming.
Other league. Yeah.
Yeah, like higher end leagues, like pro leagues.
I like what we have with the Thunderbirds right now as a pro league. Great, awesome. Canadian Premier League, great. Could there be more teams around? Hopefully, that'd be nice. And if the NHL came for a preseason game, yeah, like again, the Crosby event, that was huge.
It was
for that was huge. Although there was one real good point made by someone. I won't name names, but they felt really disappointed in the Halifax crowd.
Oh,
in the final 30 seconds, when it's 3-0 and the goalie's pulled, a lot of people got up and were heading to the exits.
Oh, I hate that even at Mooseheads games. That pisses me off.
Yeah.
And the point that this person made was, this is one of those moments that shows that Halifax really needs to kind of figure out their sports fan mentality.
Yep.
This is the last, guys. Let's think that's the last time you're going to see Sidney Crosby play a professional hockey game in Halifax. If there was a time, I know it was not the scoreline they wanted, but if there was a time for in that final 30 seconds, to be standing and give a standing ovation as opposed to heading to the exit, that was the time. And that's something that I think as the collective sports fan IQ in Halifax, that's something that's
missing out.
That is something that worked on.
I'm going to add to that. When we were playing, I believe it was, I know it was the Ramparts. We were down in our home. No, it wasn't Ramparts. Sorry, it was Sherbrooke. We were down by 2 goals at 2 minutes or something left in the game, minute and a half, 2 minutes left in the game, and half of the stadium walked out.
Yeah,
we ended up going to overtime, down 2 at the end of the third, and winning that game. And I just remember thinking the whole way home, those idiots, they missed an incredible back end of this game.
That was where Alex scored with like 7 seconds left, right?
Yeah.
Again, that was one of the highlights of that playoff run for me was watching that, watching the team rally in that Sherbrooke series and pulling that out.
That leads into this next one. What's your favorite both Mooseheads history and outside of Mooseheads that you called? What's one moment that stands out, both Mooseheads and outside Mooseheads, out of all the sports, that is like you think of it and it's like bang?
Okay, so let's. Do you want a laundry list?
Top 3.
Top 3 with the Moose. I'd have to say, getting a chance to have a call on there when they won in Sherbrooke to go to the finals. The call there was, if you check the Sherbrooke Wikipedia page, you might just see they're owned by Mathis Russo. The Mooseheads are going to the finals. That's up there. I mean, goalie goal has got to be there.
Of course.
Goalie goal,
The place erupted. Like, that was incredible. I couldn't even imagine you calling it because we were in the crowd, and it was like, so I've never been to a Forum game, but I can only imagine that that's the feeling.
Yeah,
That's very similar to what the feeling was at the Forum when the Mooseheads were playing there in the playoffs.
working the Forum. You know what? And again, I'm hosting at that point, but that was also, and the amount of hosting I've done for interviews and segments have been like, if we look at the body of work and hosting, work in the Forum and everything going up, but also like, Declan Smith scoring a goal, his first game, scoring the game winner, beg your pardon, his first game back after his mother's funeral. And that in Cape Breton, it will stay with me forever. That was incredible. And he was an absolute pro about it, man. That was heavy. But it was a moment of triumph, big moment of triumph for Declan. There's been
similar news for us,
McPhee. Again, if I go to basketball, I've had buzzer beaters, I've had championships. Go to football, same, big plays, big, and then I look at, then I'll go into and dip my toe back into Japanese pro wrestling and think about going back and calling and being in Tokyo and working the other side of the world.
So before I know you have a question on that. Just before you move on to that, I'm going to expand on this question really, and I'm going to ask, what was a point while you're commentating a game that you were like so angry at a team for doing something like taking a knee when they didn't have to, dying down the clock when they didn't have to, like, the cheap stuff that you're just like, why would they do that? This is not hockey. This is not football. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I can recall a moment like that. I don't. Jeez.
Because I know last year, from me personally, watching us play the Ramparts and watching them, and solely in my opinion, agree with me or don't agree with me, but watching them headhunt our star players, to me, this isn't hockey. This is not the way we play hockey, right? So that type of situation for me, right?
I don't know if I've been in that situation where I've been angry about, because again, you're just, there's. For me as well, like, I know our partner teams are Halifax, Charlottetown, and Cape Breton, but I will still just try to call it down the middle.
100%.
Yeah, it's, and then I'll have people tweet me saying, "Oh, you're not supporting Halifax."
I'm from Cape Breton.
Well, no, I'm hey. I'm a sportscaster. We have to call it down, and people say, "Oh, you're talking." I got someone, you're talking up Sherbrooke a lot. It's like, well, yeah, they're a good team, and
look at them.
if what do you want me to come in and say, you know what, Sherbrooke, they're the drizzling shits, don't worry, Halifax should beat them? Then guess what? Then it doesn't matter when they win.
Yeah.
So
if you don't build, and this for me goes back, teams are doing a better job of this now. But if you don't build up your opponents and build up your league, people are just showing up for the sport experience, and they're not coming as sports fans.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that really hurt pro basketball in Halifax over the last run. But yeah, that for me is, again, it's the psychology. Like, okay, so what, you want me to just be a cheerleader? And I'm not. That's
not your job.
That's not my job.
No.
That's not my job. Oh, they're from Nova Scotia. Yeah, I know. They're from Nova Scotia. That's true.
Oh.
I've taken geography and I've lived here my whole life. But like, I'm not gonna just be rah for a team
because
I'm going off on.
I gotta tell you, I went to you were mentioning pro basketball and the fact that you missed it. You just mentioned it again. I gotta tell you, the production value at the Wanderers games, and not Wanderers,
Raymond.
Raymond.
Yeah,
Raymond. The production value is absolute. It was garbage. I fell asleep after the second half. It was so bad, man. Like, I know why they're not there.
It's like, again, resources and having people and it started out like I would watch it kind of get whittled down through the years. And I could remember the first couple of years of the Raymond where it was, production was over the top. And then it slowly got whittled down, whittled down, whittled down. And then like I remember my friend Nikki, she was running the Weather Girls. She said, Maps, they don't want us back as the dance team anymore. I was like, well, that's stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pro basketball. You have a dance team. You have cheerleaders.
you have to.
You need the bread and circuses to bring them in. Like, no, they don't want it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. So it just, I could see it. You could see it slowly whittling down. Whereas now with Mooseheads, you're seeing stuff like that getting ramped up, and you're seeing more and more ideas coming in, like having a DJ at the game to, DJ and DJ John Siteman going back and forth with each other.
That was a wicked game. The music that game was amazing.
Again, but you go to pro arenas, and that's the atmosphere they have now.
Well, I'll tell you, the Las Vegas Knights have their ice crew is girls in unitards.
Yep.
Same with Dallas. It's their cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Dance team.
Now, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily think that's going to be what we need.
I was talking production value, bud.
That's the pros. That's the pros, not in junior hockey, but that's but like, again, it's bread and circuses, man.
Yeah.
You track with bread and circuses.
So I have about roughly 2 more questions just in my head that I want to ask. But you touched on this, and I got to say this personally. This is probably one of my favorite interviews because I can tell you're throwing it out there. There's so many subtle little wrestling references and little things that I'm picking up on, and I'm absolutely loving it. As everybody knows, well, a lot of people know I did professional wrestling for 10 years. Actually, this is one of the reasons that we started talking was you saw the belt, instantly recognized what it was after.
Yeah, the classic IC.
Exactly. So, like, just the little references of the talking up your opponent because people, if you beat them because you're just talking them down, doesn't mean anything. Little things like that. But you mentioned going over to Japan and calling stuff over in Japan, which I know this is Mooseheads related, but this is absolutely mind blowing that somebody from here got the opportunity to go there and call shows over there. How did that happen, and what was your experience like?
So this is one of those quotes that if I can do it, anyone can do it. I was over in Japan visiting family, and I had a month there. That one of my first nights there, I was looking. It was like one of the only times I was going to get to see New Japan, and I was humming and hawing about going to the card, and Coach told me, "Oh no, go enjoy." So I go to this show, the card, and out front was Harold May. He's the president of New Japan, but I didn't know at the time there was just a big line to have a meet and greet with him, and he felt it was important to meet and greet with the fans. So I went up and introduced myself, shook his hand, and we took a photo. And I didn't, it's just like, okay, that's pretty cool. Went and enjoyed the card. And a week later, again, I'm sitting in Japan. I'm just like, you know what? I really should have slipped him a business card or did something. I signed up for LinkedIn Premium on a free trial so that I could see if I could search him out on LinkedIn and email him. Sure enough, found him. And I sent my tape and just a message to talk about what I've done and who I am, and introduce myself, say, look, I'd love to be part of New Japan. And I didn't hear anything back until I was about to board my flight back to Canada. I was literally walking to the gate, and I was talking to myself about how I can't wait a year in between trips to go to Japan. I got to find a way back. And my phone vibrated just because I was walking through a Wi-Fi zone. And I looked and I saw a LinkedIn notification, Harold May. And I was, it's very good that he wrote down in his message that he was going to California that day. Because if he did not write that, I would have ran back, tried to get through custody. we fly back home. Over the moon, responding, going back and forth with the office, and they want to hear me call a couple matches. So the Kenny Omega Tomohiro Ishii match from G127, I think it was.
Yep.
Called that match on my couch with my buddies here, and I called it I called it 2 or 3 times. I sent it in, and then I got a phone call 2 weeks later, said, "Hey, we want to have you in Japan to come
Wow.
That's
some matches,"
amazing.
as kind of fill in for Kevin Kelly. And so I was
So-
back and forth a little bit. You know, I got to call 10 cards at Cork and Hall. Was in Miami, was in Atlanta. COVID happened. The pandemic and restrictions really messed it all up. But again, it's, you know, and I'm hopeful that we can get something going with them in the new year after the moose season or into the summer, because that's where the passion is, man. I like, for me, it's, you know, sports is awesome. Eastlink is great. Eastlink's amazing.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, a lot of my stuff comes from pro wrestling, which I think is the best form of storytelling in the world.
Now, I wanna put this in perspective for people that don't know wrestling, Colin included. So, in wrestling, right now, there's 3 major companies in the entire world. You have WWE, which is the most well-known company in the entire world, formerly WWF. You have a brand new, well, couple of years old startup company in All Elite Wrestling and AEW. Both of them are based out of the United States. The other one, and before AEW kicked in, the second biggest one is in the world is New Japan Wrestling.
I got one of my trips back. I got the poster for my first
That's
for my
dope.
first night in New Japan. So I've got to
That's
get this framed. I've been meaning to get that onto a board,
Oh,
but
that I just wanted to point out like
yeah.
the scale of where it's at. Like to put it in hockey wise, you have
It wasn't a backyard arena, is what you're saying.
No,
the 2
no.
biggest leagues in hockey. You got the KHL over in Russia and the NHL in North America. That's the equivalence of what he did. So for somebody from here, especially to make it there and to do that, that is absolutely amazing.
It was so much fun, man. And again, like I'm keeping tabs on it, and we're always ready, to quote Zack Ryder. Sorry, Matt Cardona. Beg your pardon. The indie god.
To go back
Yep.
to the Mooseheads,
Mhm.
last season for the finals, he called the games from the Eastlink studio
Mhm.
while they were happening in Quebec via the CHL app, which everybody who knows that uses the CHL app has its technical difficulties and glitches and freezes at some point. How difficult was that experience compared to actually being in a building?
That one, so Sherbrooke, we did kind of the same thing with Sherbrooke, and that the first night there, it froze every like 4 minutes, 20
Yeah.
seconds. It froze. And again, I'm working Logan, and Logan and I, after the second time, we kind of just embraced it and made it part of it. And
I
again,
very much specifically remember the few times being like, well, we don't really know what's going on. Hopefully this, when it comes back, it'll, because sometimes it does like the quick little speed
Yeah.
up to it. And I remember a few times, I don't know what game it was, but there were a few times where it would come up and it would do the speed up. And I'm pretty sure you guys tried to call it in the speed up just to like kind of like entertaining yourselves.
man, again, working Logan's a gem. He is fun, and that had its challenges. And then we had Bill go up. Bill hopped in the car and just drove up, our audio and engineer tech. He hopped up the car, rigged up everything so that the rest of the Sherbrooke series was fine. The part for me when I look back at the finals, and us not being there, is it's bittersweet, due to the fact that you know what, again, we're calling games in the finals, and we're bringing it back to we're making it happen, and it just is what it is, and it's kind of the nature of the beast right now. Because I know other broadcasters were calling it from studios as well. I'm not going to name names, but I think y'all can read through the lines there. Just, you know what? The bittersweetness for me was that's an NHL building. That would have been a sold out NHL building, hostile crowd.
Very much so.
In the finals, it would have been a chance to see, like, yeah, could I do this in the pros? That's the part that I look back at it and go, yeah, and for them to pull out the winning game too.
Yeah.
And knowing we only had 2 games just because of the
they had their
TV
winning
contract.
game here.
No, there was one up in game 2 they won.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying game 6, when they took us out.
He's talking about the game that
the Mooseheads won.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
And that was like, again, it was bittersweet because it was like, you know what, and it is what it is. But I'm sitting in the Sackville studio, looking at a 20,000 seat arena packed, being up where it would have been like the 7th floor, and having that NHL experience to get a shot at it. But it'll come come again. Who knows?
Do you call the exhibition games that come?
What?
Do you call the exhibition games, the NHL exhibition games that come here?
No.
Okay.
That's a TSN Sportsnet deal. So
okay.
We weren't in on that, but like that for me. But again, calling with Logan in the studio, us doing a sports production in basically late May, and being able to keep it going is huge. Like that. Yeah, that's personal aside. That's we went out and we called the hell out of it, and both nights, and no matter what happened, we knew we're here to do the game and make it fun and make it exciting. But there's challenges to calling it off the monitor for sure, but hey, there's
challenges to every job.
Yeah, and again, and it's one of those things that it's a matter of perspective. Yes, there's challenges to call it off the monitor, but I only have to call what's in this box. Everything else is irrelevant at this point. I'm just calling what's there, right? So, I just
you don't get distracted of what's happening down the other end.
Exactly.
Like
I'm just call what's on the screen and go from there, and keep the energy level high, because it's tough to you can't really read the crowd, but you want to be engaging with it, right? So yeah.
Before we let you go, because we've taken up quite a bit of your time here.
No, I got all the time.
Like I said, this is Wednesday, December 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Training camp for the juniors start on the 10th. Jordan Dumais currently sits 2 goals away from beating the goal record. Again, Wednesday, December 6th. Does he do it before he goes to junior camp?
Well, we've got 2 games to find out now, don't we? We've got 2 games that we'll be calling, so I can't. That's going to be it's exciting stuff, man.
He's 2 away from breaking it.
That's pretty. Yeah, now Drummondville's tough. That's going to be a great matchup.
Return of our former coach.
Yep.
Yeah,
very much so. And Gatineau's no slouch either. So, and Halifax again is something that right now that top line needs to find ways to generate a spark. The Mooseheads are going through a bit of a struggle right now, especially with the lack of secondary scoring and trying to find some offensive depth and guys and reaching for the brass ring in the middle of the pack. But to see that top line in action with 2 to go, hey, I'm hopeful that we have that call.
So
I just hope they don't try to force it to him. I hope it comes naturally.
Oh, well, and you know what? And Dumais, again, for me, watching him, the joy has been watching him be cerebral with it, because it's yes, teams really have to account when 11 has the puck on his stick, but if you account for 11 too much, he's going to find whoever isn't being accounted for, and it's going to find them open.
Well, and that's why.
Yeah.
That's why currently he has 202 assists and only 118 goals.
So he was actually, he said, or who was the top pick this year that went to the Blue Jackets?
Fantilli.
So Fantilli had an interview, and he was talking about Domain. He said that kid's hockey IQ is something he has never seen before, and that he has to always be waiting for a pass for Domain because he's got that skill. Right?
Yeah. If you're playing against 11, when he has the puck, you have to account for everyone on the ice.
Yep. 100%.
Because every single one of them are an option, and it's not just the option of, all right, he's going to pass and shoot. Dumais going to pass, and he's going to go exactly to the exact spot where he's going to be able to find a crevice in the defense.
Yep.
And set up a give and go. Like the puck will come right back to him, and before you know it's back in the net.
Yeah. Oh, he's incredible.
But yeah, it is a joy to watch him move with the puck and move without it as well.
I've been saying it all week. A player like him comes along once every 10 or so years.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's absolutely phenomenal to watch. So I'm going to close it up with a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
We had Stephen Davis on the show. Now he's aspiring to do what you do.
Yeah.
So do you have any bit of advice for young up and coming broadcasters?
Well, let me first start off by talking about Stephen Davis, and that kid's got it.
He's a gem, man.
He has it, man. Like I watched, we did was it, I believe, Biasca piece, and we ensured that we put the Dining with Davis segment in there, where I think he referred to Biasca as the Swedish rocket.
Swedish torpedo.
Yeah, the Swedish torpedo. And Telly was like, I'm Swiss. He's like, whatever. But for me, like, watching those old Dining with Davis and now seeing him get into the business and be progressing there. I remember, after we did an interview, I said, man, you got this. This is something you have. So for Gareth to have him on doing color and for him to be like, I love it. And this is where the advice that I would give to anyone that's looking to start out is exactly what Stephen Davis did. And that is just do it.
Yep.
I've pulled this up a couple times. You see this thing? If I had this wonderful piece of equipment and machinery, marvel of technology, when I was a teenager, when I was in university, the amount of stuff that I would have created, I am now, but the amount of stuff I would have created back then with this is astronomical. Back again, we'll date myself. The first time I was in an edit suite was tape to tape. Now, granted, that was UCCB communication camp when I was 12 or 13. It was a summer thing, so I never actually used the tape to tape. It went to digital, but like the video camera, the microphone, the editing software, and the distribution is all right there.
Yep.
It's never been. The barrier to entry has never been lower than what it is now. If you are interested in doing this type of stuff, just go do it. That's the best advice I can give.
Like that Shia LaBeouf meme. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yes. Oh, it's like I've had.
Oh, wait. Look at that flow, bud.
Oh yeah, man.
Look at the flow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And with the hat on, it makes the smell even more
funny.
Pristine. Yeah, like that's just do it. Is like I've talked with kids that are coming up and they're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And then I never see anything out of it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like this, geez, man, like you've got a passion for this. You've got a talent, but like you're not actually going out and pursuing it. Like it's the line I used to use was if you want to enter the bodybuilding competition, you better lift the weights.
Yep.
And I don't know a lot about bodybuilding or weights, but I'm sure it applies to sportscasting.
100%. Look at Mr. Beast, who was poor 6 years ago. Not poor, but single income family, right? And he just did it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, just do it, man. That's like
that's very much how this
Yep.
channel itself got started with Colin just sitting on his couch one day going, you know what, I'm going to do this. And he goes upstairs and makes the channel.
Yeah, and honestly, my thought was if people watch it, they watch it. If they don't, they don't. I enjoy doing it, right?
And right there, you just nailed it. I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. You don't start a YouTube channel to get rich. And
No.
if that's the reason you're starting it, you're going to fail.
Yep.
You have to do it because you love it. You have to have a passion for it. You have to be able to, and be able to tell stories and be engaging, be entertaining.
But I rely on you guys for that. All right, listen, Mavs, it was a real honor having you on the show, man. Thank you for your time. You've more than accommodated us. I really do appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, and watch the games on Eastlink Community TV.
Yes, sir.
We've got a full slate of games coming up in the second half of the year, and the playoffs, and then all our high school U18 Maritime Hockey League. What else we got there? Other stuff as well. Card subject to change. Card subject to change. Oh, Red Cup. We got Red Cup coming up. That is a big high school hockey tournament back at Riverview High School, where I went to school. It is a fantastic event. If you've got on demand, take a look at some of the old Red Cup hockey tournaments. The hockey is not the level of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League or the level of U18. However, the atmosphere that you will see at some of these Red Cup games is second to none. And so we can't wait to be back at the county rink in February for Red Cup.
Very much. And get out to enjoy these games. Get out and enjoy and support the local games. When I was doing wrestling, I had a shirt on the back of it said, "Stay sharp, support the locals." That wasn't just the local, support everything local, whether it's local sports, whether it's local dining establishments, but especially sports. If you get out to sports, it's going to make these kids want to play more. It's going to make the atmosphere a lot better. And it's just all around fun.
Dylan, I like your talk on supporting local, because right now, and again, is it really feels like downtown is going through a complete renaissance. I will say that right now. And I don't know what your guys' pre or post game routines are after Moose, but I can tell you right now, being around and this, we could end on this. Is I know I'm from Cape Breton. I know I get to go to Charlottetown, but I get to live in Halifax, and what's going on around our city right now with just like restaurant wise, I should say, with dining establishments and things being built and development is it's exciting. It's exciting to see, and get out and partake and enjoy the city. And I'm fortunate that I get to call hockey in, I'll call it a AAA market. We'll say AAA, and we'll use the baseball minor league system. I'm in a AAA market. I'm knocking on the doors of the pros, but calling in AAA is pretty good. And it's we're lucky to have what we have here in Halifax.
100%, man. All right, everybody, that was Mavs Gillis. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're all healthy, safe, and happy out there. And as always, go Moose, go.